Hi everyone. Thank you for joining this live stream for SA360, where we'll cover back to school with automation and we'll also cover the most exciting feature for this year, which is auction time bidding. I'm Lesha Kamboj and I work across the Nordics as an SA360 tech manager. And with me I have
Jose, that's my name. Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Essentially, today we'll go through a couple of topics. We'll peek into how auction time bidding works. We'll cover the best practices in terms of what you should be aware of when you're setting up an auction time bidding strategy. We'll cover a new feature that we've recently launched called Default Conversion Goal and how it impacts performance. And in the last part, we'll go through the new bid strategy overview metrics that have been recently launched across all the accounts within SA360. In the end, thank you for sending in questions before the live stream, and we'll go through those questions as well and try to answer them as much as we can.
Just a reminder that today's session is on automation and auction time bidding, and the detailed SA360 holiday guide will be covered in one of the upcoming sessions. And another reminder that you can sign up to the GMP newsletter to receive the latest information in your inbox. The link is in the description of the recording on YouTube. Okay, so why technology and data is important for a business is not a question anymore. In paid search, it is crucial to optimize your ads to drive performance and to achieve your targets. Let's do like a quick overview on the history of bidding system on paid search. So some years ago, right after moving from the very basic manual bidding, we started using rules-based bidding models. So in these models, what you can do is you can define a condition to change your bids. Let's say my CPA is below X. Then an action that would be like I want to increase my bids. So at the time it worked, but it was a very simplistic approach. It was not taking into account, for example, keywords that were assisting other keywords to convert. Then we moved into portfolio bidding, where bidding is looking into a larger group of keywords and how to maximize the portfolio as a whole. So some things that the system takes into consideration are like what are the trade-offs between keywords, or where is best to invest the budget in order to maximize your conversions. And finally, we moved into machine learning, which uses a more sophisticated predictive model and is looking at signals in your account. For example, semantic signals. Also looks at your account structure and how are keywords relating to each other. And this is the actual system used by the intraday bidding system in SA360 or the legacy bidding. So how does machine learning help here? So given the amount of signals and data that is available, what machine learning does is it identifies pattern and trends and is going to make accurate bidding decisions. So we're talking about signals, but what kind of signals? So you can see in the middle of the blue dots that we have the keyword bid, and it's surrounded by other signals, right? So device, location, or your audience. This is what we call the bid modifiers or the bid adjustments, and those are used by the SA360 intraday bidding to set this bid adjustments. And these are going to work on top of the keyword-based bid, which is going to lead us to something that we call the intersection problem or the intersection dilemma. So let's go through an example. So the example we got here is you have a location bid adjustment of plus 20% for New York City and the mobile bid adjustment of plus 20%. So these are going to be added together and you will end up with a bid adjustment which can be around plus 44%, and this is on top of your base bid for all New York City mobiles. So if the user, imagine it happens to be in a list that has a bid modifier as well, so the bid modifiers can easily outbid the base bid. Auction time bidding is going to avoid that problem. So right from the start, all the signals are going to be taken into consideration for each individual user, and the bid is specific for the predicted conversion rate of that user. So in this example here, we have the auction A is minus 5% and the auction B is plus 61%. Okay. Now, in this slide, you may have noticed that we included a green area that is around the blue dots. So this one represents all the signals that Google Ads is adding to complete this very rich set of signals taken into account for every single auction. So we don't have only day of the week, but we have time of the day as well. We have things like device type, browser, operating system, and so. So coming back to the evolution of bidding, auction time bidding is the most logical next step because it's combining SA360 data sets. So for example, your multiple accounts, channel, different engine types, and all that data in one place, which usually can be done in other tools. And it uses that data with the most advanced bidding system, which is auction time bidding in Google Ads. So this results in the best possible bid for your accounts using query level data for individual searches. Just as a summary, there are 3 core pillars in auction time bidding. So the bids are going to be set on every auction instead of 4 times per day used by intraday bidding or legacy bidding. We are going to be using a very large rich set of signals used in combination, not only the signals available in search ads, and the bidding is done at query based, not a base bid with the bid modifiers on top. So these are only things that we can do with auction time bidding. One question that we get a lot is what is the difference between Google Ads auction time bidding and search ads? So the answer is the main difference is the conversion source. So Google Ads is going to be using Google Ads conversion tracking, which is a duplicated conversion source, whereas in search ads we can use Floodlight that is using all the Floodlight capabilities like multi-channel, the duplicated conversion source, and we can also use this data to create attribution models, TDA, optimize to offline data, and use all this data in combination with formula columns, but the bidding system is going to be the same. What are the benefits of using auction time bidding? So we have seen increase in conversions in a range of plus 15 to 30% for the same CPA or ROAS, and this result has been seen across many different verticals, and of course there are clients where we see different results, but on average this is what we need to think about, like plus 15 to 30% increase in conversions or revenue at the same CPA or ROAS. Let's take a look at what happens when we enable auction time bidding. So from the day 0 or the moment that we enable, Floodlight conversions are going to be exported to Google Ads. We can also see that the conversion column in Google Ads is going to be updated and reporting these new conversions. Search ads is going to be still performing in intraday bidding, like we said, 4 times per day. If you want, you can check on the auction time status column in search ads that you will notice that it displays learning. What happens after 7 days plus your conversion delay is that auction time bidding strategies will be enabled. Now, it's important this part because it takes 7 days plus your conversion delay. That's the time between the click and the conversion, which can be very different between advertisers. So you may notice that you can check that in Google Ads and also in search ads with your conversion source. It should be pretty similar, but just to bear in mind that it can take 7 days plus the conversion delay. In Search Ads 360, we'll start setting up the CPA ROAS targets at campaign level, and you can check in the auction time status column. You can check this column, and you'll notice that it's changed from learning to enable. After the day 7 plus conversion delay, we are seeing the good results. The performance is getting better, and then other things that I will cover in a couple of slides. So how does this look in Google Ads? So if you go to the conversion settings, you will notice that new conversion action sets are included. This is basically because, as we said, we are sending information from search ads to Google Ads, the floodlight conversion data. So you will see something like your bid strategy name and the floodlight activity for a new conversion action set. In Google Ads, what will happen is that the column conversions will go down because, as we said, we are sending information from search ads. So this will be replaced with instead of the conversions column. Now, this is another question that we have, like how come that often I see that my campaign is in manual bidding, although I activated my auction time bidding a few days ago? Well, the answer is because it takes 7 days plus the learning period or the conversion delay until the system reflects the bid strategy. What is the potential impact that I can have in my account? So when you enable auction time bidding, what will happen is that the system will start going for the best auctions. This is best auctions means higher bids, so average CPC may go up. And this may result in that basically the average CPC will go up. And the reason is because we will go for higher bids for the best auctions and the lower bids for worse auctions. Higher spends, why? Because we are trying to deliver more conversions at a similar CPA. So proportionally, we will be spending much. Also, impression share may go down, especially for broad match campaigns. This is because worse auctions will be lowered, so we may appear less on those. Don't worry, I mean, this is completely normal in your account. But as a result of these three things, what we may have is higher conversion rates. As part of these performance improvements, conversion rates will increase. Also, spending more, as we said.
So coming back to some case studies that we found were interesting, and maybe you can learn something from them as well. One of the first testers of auction time bidding was Vodafone Germany, and how they went about this is they started with the drafts and experiments to compare auction time bidding bid strategy from SA360 versus a normal search ads 360 bidding strategy, and their end goal was to increase customer acquisition. So they were keen to figure out if this impacts their conversion volume, and by the end of the test, what we found is their cost per acquisition reduced by 15% and their conversion volumes increased by 15% as well. These are very expected results. If you give the system enough time to perform, you should in most cases see an increase in conversion volume. And similarly, we have another case study coming from this advertiser called Sega. They're basically based out of UK, United Kingdom, and then they sell insurances for individuals above 50. They also sell holidays and one of the UK's best monthly magazine as well. The challenge that they saw was they wanted to drive more customer acquisition in the market for above 50 age group, and they pretty much did the same thing. They used drafts and experiments, collaborated with iProspect, which was their agency, to make sure that they can test auction time bidding smoothly versus the standard bid strategy. And at a similar cost per conversion, what they found was they were receiving 102% more conversions. Now, this is definitely a lot more than what we've seen, but it's a very interesting case study because at this time, drafts and experiments were required to run auction time bidding. Now we're pretty confident in the auction time bidding model, and you can go ahead and activate the bid strategy without really running a drafts and experiments test. Now, for what campaign types and what conversion types is auction time bidding supported? Auction time bidding, the current status is if you're using target CPA, And if you're using text ads or DSA, it has been completely launched. So you can go in and opt in today itself. For target ROAS strategies as well, revenue-based strategies, for text ads and DSA, it has been launched as well. There are two strategies where we're beta testing auction time bidding, which is shopping and smart shopping campaigns, as well as budget bid strategies. So budget bid based ROAS or CPA. And one thing we can add here is if you're working with your account manager, you can speak to them about whitelisting you for the beta, and they should be able to help you out there. We're planning to launch all of these within Q4 itself, so you can also wait until they're fully launched. In terms of what is supported and what is not supported from a conversion type perspective, floodlights are totally supported with auction time bidding. Google Ads conversion tracking, including website actions, phone calls, app installs, and in-app actions, and local actions, which is store visits, are supported as well. However, offline conversions are not supported as of now. Formula columns, if you're combining floodlight only, it is absolutely supported, weighted or unweighted. But if you're combining a floodlight conversion and an unweighted and a weighted Google Ads conversion tracking, it is not supported today. So if you have unweighted Google Ads conversion tracking, it is supported as well. And formula column that's a set device targets is not supported, and Google Analytics is not supported as well. But we will soon launch Google Analytics support for auction time bidding in a beta in the coming months. Jose will take you through the sanity checker, or what you need to keep in mind when you're activating auction time bidding.
Thank you. So let's look after the things you need to know prior to activating auction time bidding, all the things that you need to know during the setup and post, so when your campaigns are live. So prior to the launch, things that you need to understand is that your primary goal needs to be either conversions or revenue, because only ROI bid strategies are supported by auction time bidding. So what is the source of your conversions? Lesha already covered that, but bear in mind that we cover floodlights, Google Ads, as long as they're not weighted in a formula column. GA, we're not covering that. What attribution model are you reporting on? It's completely fine if you are using data-driven attribution for a more efficient optimization. And the last one, we kind of like covered that, so just bear in mind that if you are using device weighted conversions, if you are using a weighted conversions with a Google conversion, this is not supported. Just bear in mind that you need to have a recommended minimum amount of conversions of 20 per week in the last 30 days. If you have your campaigns limited by budget, maybe it's a good time to review that, because we're going to give the system more freedom to decide which bids and which auctions are going to convert. Make sure that you have at least 3 weeks of historical conversion data. And if you have any engine bid strategies currently active, these are going to be automatically replaced. As you know, having double automation is not supported. Last one, if you are using any bid modifiers, these are going to be set to 0, and the answer is because auction time bidding is not looking at base bids or bid modifiers. It's going to set up the bid based on all the signals that it gets in the moment of the auction. During the setup, so again, make sure that you have 3 to 4 weeks of historical data. In terms of minimum and maximum bids, the recommendation is for the minimum bid just below the lowest average CPC, and for the maximum bid we want to give the system a bit of range, so let's give it 3 times the highest average CPC. Bear in mind that at the moment we are only applying auction time bidding at campaign level only. It's not supported at deeper level like ad group or keyword. And if you're planning to launch soon, maybe right now is a good moment because we're not in seasonality period, but we will be soon. And the last thing is that you need to acknowledge the data sharing between Floodlight sent to Google Ads. So if your conversions are set at MCC level, you need to go to Google Ads and accept and acknowledge that you are okay with the data sharing. So after auction time bidding is live, we are going through the learning period. As we said, it's going to take 7 days, plus your conversion delay, which can be different between verticals, between advertisers. You can check the auction time status column to see if it's learning or if it's enabled. Be prepared for performance changes. As we said, likely your conversion rates are going to go up. You're going to get more conversions, but it's a trade-off with the CPC fluctuation and the cost. You can create labels and rules to monitor performance. So, for example, I want to receive a notification if I'm experiencing big changes in performance. So you can review that everything is going smoothly. You can also check the bid strategy overview columns to monitor the health, to make sure that you don't have any restrictions. And finally, do not make changes to auction time bidding in Google Ads. Make it only in Search Ads 360.
Perfect. One thing I can add to that is when you're activating auction time bidding for the first time in the UI, you will need a manager level access, either advertiser manager or agency manager. So make sure that you have those access levels when you're trying this for the first time. Now moving on to a newly launched feature or called default conversion goal. We haven't launched this across all accounts, but you will start seeing this slowly as and when you start testing auction time bidding. And essentially, what is default conversion goal? Default conversion goal is the primary conversion goal for your SA360 account. When you're enabling auction time bidding, it figures out which conversion set should be exported to all Google Ads campaigns, irrespective of whether auction time bidding is enabled or not in that advertiser. In today's world, only conversions in the campaigns, which include the bid strategy portfolio, are exported. It leads to limited learning ability because your entire account is still using Google Ads conversion tracking in the Google Ads UI. And we'll see how default conversion goal can lead to incremental performance gains with simplicity. So to give you a very brief overview, in today's world, if you activate auction time bidding across, let's say, portfolio 1, and you have one portfolio in green where auction time bidding is activated, but the remaining portfolios and the remaining campaigns are not activated on auction time bidding. The floodlight data is passed on to Google Ads for that particular portfolio and all the campaigns within the portfolio where auction time bidding is activated. For the remaining portfolios and campaigns, Google Ads conversion tracking is still being used. Now, the beauty of auction time bidding is it enables cross-learning. If all the campaigns are using the same conversion set, it can learn from their behavior as well and take action accordingly, which leads to huge performance gains. In this case, that cross-learning is limited. With launch of default conversion goal, let's take the same example. You have portfolio 1 with auction time bidding activated, but all the remaining campaigns are not activated on auction time bidding. In this case, the floodlight is still passed on to Google Ads for the auction time bidding activated campaigns. With the launch of default conversion goal, all the campaigns will start exporting the conversions set as the default into Google Ads as well. What will this do is it will increase the data that's available for learning, and it will give you better performance from an auction perspective. And there are some exceptions here which we will also cover in a bit. Why is this important? Like I mentioned, with more data you'll get better performance when more campaigns share the same conversion source of that bid strategy. The second one is you will see faster performance gains. If data is limited, it takes more time for a bid strategy to learn. And if there is enough data for the conversion strategy to learn from, you'll see the time, the warm-up time going down. And in future as well, if you're planning to add more campaigns into the bid strategy, it will not necessarily go through a warm-up period, especially when you're moving campaigns using Google Ads conversion bid strategy into an SA360 auction time bidding strategy. You should start seeing this feature slowly in your accounts throughout the month, and we'll take you through where to find this as well. Some additional benefits which can be really powerful for your everyday optimizations are account recommendations. Today, account recommendations uses Google Ads conversion tracking, which might not be the source of truth for your conversion data. With auction time bidding, you'll be transporting all the floodlight data to Google Ads, and it'll calculate the uplift based on the real conversion source for your account. Reports that are unique to Google Ads, for example, search query reports, will also include the floodlight conversions, which will give you a truer picture of what's happening. And optimization score will also reflect the floodlight data or the default conversion goal data within your Google Ads account setup. So you can start using that more regularly. So from a comparison standpoint, today, like before the launch of default conversion goal, if the campaign is included in Search Ads 360 auction time bidding bid strategy, it will use the bid strategy goal. And if the campaign is not included, it will keep using the Google Ads conversion tracking in the Google Ads UI. Like I said, this limits learning and this reduces the volume of data available for auction time bidding to perform in the best way. Now, with the launch of default conversion goal, if a campaign is not included in a Search Ads 360 auction time bidding, and it's also not included in any Google Ads conversion based bid strategy, so you're possibly manually bidding on it, it'll start using default conversion goal in the Google Ads UI. This is very important for users who are reporting on Google Ads conversion tracking, and there's a huge difference in conversions from SA360 and Google Ads, because you should be aware that your conversion source will change from Google Ads conversion tracking to an SA360 default conversion goal. For campaigns that are using Google Ads bid strategies, for example, target CPA and target ROAS, but outside of Google Ads and not Search Ads 360, it gets into two further steps. For smart shopping campaigns, including smart shopping campaigns, your SA360 account will use the default conversion goal to optimize these. And the Google Ads conversion setting will also change into the default conversion goal. For campaigns which are using search text-based optimization, including DSA, the Google Ads conversion setting will remain, and that is the only exception here. So key takeaway here is once you start using auction time bidding, you will start seeing, in most of the campaigns, you'll start seeing the default conversion goal being transported across the account. And when default conversion goal and bid strategy goal are the same, keep in mind that your performance will be maximized. And it's recommended that you keep using default conversion goal as the conversion across most of your bid strategies, unless there's a huge difference in conversion goal or there's a proper business case why you're using a different bid strategy goal altogether. This is something Jose covered as well. You will start seeing the conversion action being exported to Google Ads, and you'll see the number of campaigns where the conversion action is being used. There can be multiple conversion actions, but there will always be only one default conversion action. And at a campaign level, you will also see the conversion setting being changed to the bid strategy conversion or the default conversion that you've set in the account. So this is something that you will start seeing soon. One of the other features that we wanted to cover today is bid strategy insights. We understand that understanding performance can be a bit complicated in today's world. And some of the common challenges that we see our advertisers facing is, firstly, not all conversions happen on the same day. Sometimes seasonality comes into picture, a conversion delay comes into picture, and that complicates the entire click to conversion process. Then a lot of times we hear that a bid strategy increase the CPCs or reduce the CPCs drastically, and you're possibly wondering, why did this change happen? and we want to make it easier for you to understand how to read that change better. One of the biggest challenges that we see is identifying the right date range for assessing performance. If you made a change or if you're doing a test, how can we help you choose a better date for comparing performance across time? And these are some of the things that we will talk about now. So, giving you a bit of background, historically, conversions were always attributed to conversion day, and this has happened for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. What this means is, if a conversion happens yesterday, irrespective of the click path, it's attributed to yesterday itself. And the conversions coming tomorrow will be attributed to tomorrow. This aligns very well with business events. You want to see when the purchase happened. But when conversions are attributed to conversion day, you might be undervaluing some of the click paths. The change that we're bringing in today is attributing conversions to the click day. Keep in mind that this change will only be reflected in the bid strategy overview page and not the entire account. But what happens is, in short, what this means is, if a click happened 15 days back, and then a new click happened 10 days back, and then the conversion happened today, you will see if your model is a linear model, 50% of the conversions will be attributed to 15 days back, and 50% of the conversion will be attributed to 10 days back. It's as simple. And this is calculated at keyword level, so it's very powerful information to understand how the click paths are evolving. And one thing I would say again is it's sort of best of both worlds, because you can see click aligned metrics in the bid strategy overview page, but you can also see conversion day aligned metric in the overall account level page. Some of the new metrics that you would have seen popping up in your bid strategy are conversion delay, conversions due, and average target. And we'll go through what exactly these mean step by step. So conversion delay is essentially the average number of days it takes to from a click to a conversion. In SA360, we use 80th percentile to calculate the average conversion delay. What this means is, if your average conversion delay is 15 days, then it takes 15 days for 80% of your conversions to come in your bid strategy. An example here is, if a click happens on day 1, when the user is researching, then day 2 they're comparing, and day 3 they select and they finally convert. We'll attribute the conversion to all these 3 clicks and not the day of the conversion, or the click of the the day of the conversion. It supports all attribution models, and it is calculated at keyword level within the account. And this will just help you understand your user behavior in a lot easier fashion. So the other metric that we've launched is conversions due. Conversions is something you already see in your account. The conversions received attributed to the date of the click occurred. But conversions due is our way of telling you that there are more conversions that are expected during this date range based on the average conversion delay. For example, let's say you're looking at your performance yesterday and you see 5 conversions and you see 2 conversions due. What this means is 5 conversions have already happened, but if you come in back and look at the performance of this bid strategy a couple of days later, you will see more conversions popping in. And that will be the conversions due number. Your sum of conversions and conversions due is your total account conversion. The only difference is conversions is the actual conversion that happened, and the conversions due is the estimation of conversions that will come in. In the UI, it'll look something like this. If you see the green line, that's the bid strategy conversions, and if you see the blue line, which is 81,672.5, these are the bid strategy conversions due. And you'll see in the end, around June 22nd, the conversions due shoots up, and that's expected behavior because all that is an estimation of the conversions that will come in, and over time it will keep going down, and the bid strategy conversions will keep on increasing. The other cool metric that we've launched is the bid strategy average target CPA. What we saw was a lot of advertisers keep changing their CPA throughout the time period, and then it's very difficult to analyze what exactly the bid strategy was optimizing towards. Now, bid strategy average target CPA is the target CPA that you set over the time period that you've selected, and it's a weighted mean, weighted average mean. So essentially, the green part, which is bid strategy average target CPA, is something you set, and the bid strategy CPA is what the strategy is performing for. When bid strategy average target CPA is equal to the bid strategy CPA, this means your bid strategy is on target. Also, if you have a really long conversion delay, then what we would recommend is to exclude that time period over the last days and then look at your performance, because there are conversions that are missing out and that can lower your bid strategy CPA when they reflect properly. Optionally, we're launching a new metric, which is bid strategy conversions total divided by cost. It will be called bid strategy CPA total, which will include both bid strategy conversions as well as the bid strategy conversions which are due. With this metric, you don't have to exclude the time period of the last couple of days. So one step back, an example here would be bid strategy average target CPA, which is the green line, and you'll see that changing almost every day by a little bit. And essentially what this means is the advertiser was going in and changing the target pretty regularly, but the average of that target is 2.19 pounds. And the bid strategy CPA is the blue line. And over the last 28 days, the target was pretty much changing, but we've basically showed you what is the average weighted target for this strategy. The conversion delay for this account is 5 days. So ideally, when you're comparing whether the two metrics are equal or not, I would exclude the last 5 days when comparing performance. One of the really cool metrics that's coming in soon is how can you measure ROI better? One of the questions that keeps coming back in is how much of the performance was impacted due to manual changes. Now, there's a lot of noise when you're making a lot of changes in your bid strategy. And to help you get a better insight, we'll show you exactly how much freedom the algorithm had when it was performing and when manual changes or pausing the bid strategy or making huge changes affected the algorithm. And this will help you choose a better date range for comparing performance. The other metric that we're launching soon is the recommended date range. If you're looking at a date range and you're not really sure whether it's the right time period, the new bid strategy metric will intelligently recommend an optimal date range which excludes the statistical noise, and this will help you analyze results better. If you're using SA360 Data Studio, we acknowledge that a lot of these metrics were not available in the Data Studio, but most of these metrics are now launched. You can create a bid strategy report using all the new metrics that have been launched recently, and we've also created a bid strategy monitoring dashboard template. And you can reach out to your account manager or account representative to have access to that bid strategy report. And for today, this is all we have. We hope you found the information here useful. We also got a lot of interesting questions on the live stream.
Yeah, maybe we can go and reply some of the questions that were dropped in the chat. So the first question is, which bid strategy would you recommend as a replacement to position targeting bid strategy? ROAS, revenue, or impression share? Absolute top bid strategy. Well, the answer is it really depends whether your main target is visibility or performance. So what do you want? You want traffic or you want qualified traffic? One thing that we can tell you is that so ROI bid strategies are using a more complex bidding system with much more signals. We have gone through all the signals that auction time bidding is taking into consideration. These signals are not going to be taken into consideration if you're using an impression share bid strategy. So it really is a business question. So you want traffic or you want qualified traffic and conversions. And the second question is, why do I still see an old bid strategy position targeting applied to a campaign, even though a new bid strategy was launched and applied impression share? this can happen if a bid strategy is already in pause or the campaigns inside the bid strategy are paused. And then we have another question that is combined. Do you want to take that, Lisha?
Yeah, of course. So the question is, with 0 impressions generated after a reduction of a keyword bid, would it be raised again when seasonality arrives and we are expecting a better conversion rate? So the answer here is yes. If the model predicts an improved predicted conversion rate for that particular keyword, even if there is absolutely no history in the last couple of days, it will react to it and it will make sure that that keyword enters the auction again. And from seasonality perspective, we're changing our recommendations this year, and we're hosting a live stream next week on September 16th around holidays and how to deal with the holiday seasonality. So I would recommend that you dial in, and that will really take you through the details of and the nitty-gritty of what you can do and what is expected. And I hope we answered all the remaining questions as well through our content. Thank you for joining in, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for coming. See you next time.